This is the story of a husband who couldn't stay in one place, a wife who revolted in the kitchen, and a 10-year secret that was finally exposed in a quiet corner of Goa. Manoj was a simple, resourceful man. Though he lacked a formal education, he possessed an uncanny ability to always put food on the table. He didn't have a wide circle of friends. His wife, Rukmini, was his entire world. By all accounts, Manoj was a perfect husband, polite to neighbors, playful with children, entirely free from bad habits or vices. Rukmini was equally devoted. Knowing their resources were limited, she never demanded luxury. Yet from whatever small sums Manoj managed to save, he would invariably surprise her with thoughtful little gifts. They loved each other deeply. But as the years rolled on, one baffling habit began to quietly fracture their otherwise perfect life. Manoj simply could not stick to a single job. Every few months he would move to a completely new line of work, always armed with a fresh excuse. Sometimes it was a difficult boss, sometimes a workplace hazard. Other times, he simply needed a change of role. He never minded taking a pay cut. But the real problem wasn't just the role. It was where the jobs took them. Invariably, Manoj would find employment in far-off places, requiring them to pack up their entire lives and move over and over again. Rukmini's parents openly called him unstable, their cutting remarks growing sharper with every move. She tried her best to ignore them, but the constant uprooting had begun to take its toll. Desperate to anchor him, her parents suggested a final solution: have a child. Surely the responsibility of raising a child would force him to settle. But when Rukmini raised the topic, Manoj did something unexpected. He held her hand, smiled gently, and told her they would, but only after a few years. And so the relentless cycle continued. Feeling helpless, Rukmini came up with an unusual little revolt. Manoj's absolute favorite dish was bhindi ki sabzi. So, as a quiet protest, she decided to purposely ruin it. Every single time she cooked it, she burned the spices, added too much salt, left it completely unpalatable. She hoped this silent sabotage would finally make him notice her hurt, but despite how awful it tasted, Manoj turned a blind eye. He quietly devoured every single bite, night after night, without a word of complaint. Manoj's changing of jobs continued still. So did her peculiar revolt. Over the years, the couple moved from the dusty plains of Ballia in Uttar Pradesh to the crowded electric lanes of Delhi. Then came the snow-clad silence of Shimla and Kashmir. Next, the relentless rush of Mumbai. Then, the slow, dreamlike backwaters of Kerala. And finally, a tiny rented place near the beaches of Goa. Rukmini had seen it all, breathed it all, lived inside dreams she had never dared to speak aloud, and yet something had begun to change inside her. Sitting alone while Manoj was away at work, a dark thought would creep in. What if the real reason for moving from one corner of India to another wasn't the job at all? What if he was hiding something from her? Her mind would spiral into darker and darker corners. What was he running from? Or who? The more she tried to push the thought away, the louder it grew. This went on until one day Rukmini's brother Gopal returned from his years of work in the Gulf. When he came to meet her in Goa, Rukmini finally broke down and poured her heart out to him. But instead of showing concern, Gopal burst out laughing. He held her hand and told her she had it completely backwards. Manoj didn't have a flaw, he had a plan. It was because of his love for her, his deep, quiet, unwavering love, that he had been changing jobs all along. Rukmini stood frozen, unable to speak, and then Gopal told her everything. Long before they were married, he had once jokingly mentioned to Manoj that his sister's greatest dream was to see the big cities, the snow-clad mountains, and the endless beaches of India. Manoj, who earned very little, knew he could never save enough for expensive holidays. So, he came up with an ingenious solution. He would find jobs in those very places Rukmini had always wanted to see. That way, she would get to live in her dreams, fully, completely, on a salary that barely stretched to the end of the month. He had quietly sacrificed his career stability over and over again, just to give her the world. When Manoj returned from work that evening, the years of doubt had finally fallen away. He sat down at the table, and Rukmini placed a steaming bowl before him. That night, Manoj had the tastiest bindi ki sabzi ever. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. A new story arrives every Sunday. I'll see you then.